Welcome everybody. Hey, this is Chris Petri, your old friend, and we're actually going to just do something a little different. This is just a quick video. Maybe we'll spend 15-20 minutes going over some colors. I know a lot of my friends here on YouTube. I know many of you will email me or leave messages on some colors that that I use in my palette, or some different technical information on brushes and things like that. So I think on my channel I'm going to probably start to make more of an effort just to put out some informationals on some of the gear that I use, the paints, the palettes, give you more insights into like some of the background things that go on besides the paintings that we do every week. So I just want to let everyone know I'm interested in helping you to also you fine-tune your craft, your watercolor art career with the finer details and maybe the technical things that maybe we don't always cover. And a lot of other channels I know out there on YouTube do a great job of covering a lot of the details of colors and palettes and brushes and all that. And you'll see back in my YouTube channel, I do have, occasionally I have covered some things like that. And actually on my other channel, Watercolor in 5, if you were to want to search that out, Watercolor in 5, or if this might even be a Watercolor in 5 video, I sometimes will put two videos up, both the same video on my two channels. I have Watercolor in 5, that's my other channel, and then I also have my regular channel, Chris Petri, on YouTube. But to make a long story short, I just wanted to say that these things are important to cover, colors, brushes, palettes, papers, all these type of things are real important when you're a watercolor artist and you're trying to fine-tune and get better at your craft. These things can really help out. So here's my standard palette. You'll see me use this palette. I'll zoom back a little bit on this. It's a Schmincke box, and I just got this new Schmincke watercolor palette in the mail the other day, and I loaded it back up with my pans that I took out from the old watercolor palette that I had, my old Schmincke watercolor palette. So I basically, if you can imagine, I just took my old Schmincke watercolor box, paint box, which was just like this one, and I had it loaded just like this with these same pans. I took these plastic pans out, put them into a temporary palette, put that to the side and use that for a couple weeks or so. And now that my new palette's in, I just took those from here and put them onto here. So I just basically transferred them over. And so now I'm just have my same paint pans in my new palette. And so what I think I'm going to do on this video is I'll just go over the colors that I use in this particular palette. And sometimes if I use a smaller palette, I might not have as many colors. But this is like my real kind of go-to palette. It's really got mostly everything I use on a consistent basis all the time in my paintings. So let's cover that. We'll make a little paint chart. And this is kind of what this video is about, is just making paint charts for yourself so you can keep track of your colors. You might have a couple artists that you like to follow. Maybe you follow me. Maybe you follow a couple other watercolor artists on YouTube as well. And you want to keep track of maybe each of our different palettes, and you might have a few different palettes. So if you paint something that I'm painting on YouTube, you can use one palette for that. And then if you have another artist you're following, you might be using another palette you have stashed at your place, and you can use that one when you're painting another artist's paintings, because it's good to use the same paints. If you're going to try to paint along with another artist, you want to pretty much try to keep the same colors. It really helps a lot, and I always encourage everybody to paint from finished watercolor paintings, of course. So let's get started here. I'm going to put this to the side, and what I'll do is I'll take some printer paper, just some simple printer paper, office printer paper like this. You can do it on watercolor paper if you want to, but I'm going to do this here on printer paper, this color chart. And these are fun to do. I think you should do them. And, like I said, you can do them for the palettes that you have. You can also do them for new colors you might purchase. So you might just make a chart with just a few colors on it and say, this is new colors. And then you might put down what brand is it? Well, it's Winsor Newton, so on and so forth. So what I'll do is we'll create a rectangular shape, which is just like the palette, like so. Okay, so that's my palette where my paints are. Then I noticed that it's divided in half, another half. Then it's also divided this way in half. If I'm looking at all the little plastic paint compartments. And then we have one more over here, and one more over here, and then this one is here. And I think that's like this. And then we have 4 and 3. 4, and then these go down this way. And this is pretty simple. And then this one is like so. And then I have this one divided in half. And this one's like this. And 3, 1. So it is a little bit, it's not perfectly symmetrical. Some of the pans are kind of squeezed in and squished into my palette, so I wanted to mention that so that you kind of know it isn't a perfect grid. It's a little non-symmetrical because of the pans are different sizes. We have large pans, and then some of these other pans we might take some of them and turn them. So, but we'll get everything pretty much exact. So this will be an exact replica of my palette. Okay, so now I will get a smaller pen. We use the large Sharpie for this section with the dividers. Now we'll get in and we'll do our colors. So I'm gonna go quick here so that this might not be so fun to watch me writing out things, but this is what I do when I make color charts. I make color charts a lot, and I've always done them over the years because I have changed colors here and there, but mostly I have really used most of the colors you see here I've been using mostly all my career in watercolor. But I'm just kind of showing how you can do a quick color chart. So you just take your colors and go right across and you write them down in permanent marker. Use a thinner, finer marker to write your colors in, and use a thicker marker to do your borders where your paint dividers are. So I'm just going right around here, and then this here, rose madder, cadmium yellow lemon, chromium of oxide, sap green, and here we have cadmium red, raw sienna, olive green, viridian, which is a cool green, Prussian blue, cool blue, greenish blue, cobalt blue, and we have two the same here, cobalt blue, and then left here we have cadmium orange, yellow ochre. And then I think we have ivory black, Payne's gray, cadmium blue. Oh, that's cerulean actually. And I just went across the room to get some of the white out. So that was cerulean blue. And we have a double color, cerulean blue again. And ultramarine violet. Then you can also, to get even more detailed, you might you could put down the brand in here if you want. I use mostly just two brands. I use Winsor Newton, and I also use Holbein. So those are my two main brands I use, and I would say 75% I use Winsor and Newton paints, watercolor paints, and then I use about 25% of the time I'll use the Holbein paints. And then maybe just, every occasion, once in a while on an occasion, I might pick up all the other brands out there that you might know about, that you might use yourself exclusively. I'll try a few here and there, but I've really stuck to those brands for myself. I find that I like them the best, but everyone has their own preference, and that's fine. So now we'll just go in and we'll just put in the colors. So this is the first part of your color chart. You would put down all the colors. You might even paint first, and then put the names of the colors in. So you might leave a small section where you block everything out. So you could always leave some space for the writing. That might be a good thing. You could also, when you're doing first you get in your major blocks with your thick Sharpie, so you get all your main divisions, space divisions of your palette with your Sharpie. Then, before you write in anything, you just make little small spots for your labeling. And then what you might do is you might put in the paint first and then draw in your colors. You might find it easier to do that way. Like this. So that might be easier to do. And then we'll start out. I'll do my alizarin crimson, and then you can just take alizarin crimson. So let's just go right down the colors here. So we have some fun. And you can make the colors, the tonal values of the colors dark, and then you leave some areas where you make some lighter tonal values of the color, so you can kind of see the range of what it looks like pure pigment, and then what it looks like when it's thinned out with some water. That seems to be a good way to approach a chart like this, so you can kind of see the color and the range of tonal values you can get with it, and the transparency of it, how it looks. This is, again, office paper, so this isn't a real true essence of what it's going to look like on watercolor paper, but it is just an idea. So, you don't have to go crazy and use watercolor paper, but it's probably better to use watercolor paper. But if you do a lot of these, you can just do them right on printer paper, just as good. I know some people are going to be real fanatical about that, and they're not going to like the idea of painting on office paper, but I think it's a good way to practice anyway and do charts like this. That's fine. So we'll just do our warm colors here. We'll do some cadmium orange. And we'll go over to the cadmium yellow. And I thin that down a little bit just to kind of get that look. Cadmium lemon yellow. And we'll do some raw umber. There we go. Burnt sienna. I was wondering if I dipped into the burnt umber, actually. This is the burnt sienna. That's got the reddish brown. Then we have the burnt umber. Go. French ultramarine blue. And I'm trying to practice going quicker here a little bit too. Practice some speed painting. You can go slow, super slow. We can go quicker. Sometimes when we're watercolor painting, we got to pick up the pace a little bit and go a little faster to get through a certain area before it dries, so it's always good to practice going quick and, medium pace, slow pace. Chromium of oxide. Sap green. And some of these colors might get a little bit, I might have a little bit of mixtures of other colors, maybe on my brush sometimes when I'm doing these, but for the most part, it's looking pretty like 99% accurate. Olive green. Viridian. A very cool green, almost like a turquoise. And Prussian blue. and cobalt blue. And we have 2 spaces for that. Cobalt blue, that's a very common blue that I use all the time. Let's do ivory black. And Payne's gray, cooler black. It's got some blue in it. Cerulean blue, we have 2. We have 2 spots on our palette for our cerulean blue. We use this. I use this all the time. All the time. I'm always going back to my watercolor tubes and filling my palette with cerulean blue constantly. And then we have purple, which is ultramarine violet. And yellow ochre we also okay, there we have it. This is my palette. This here, these are all the colors on a chart of what I use. We can actually draw in. Let me get maybe a different color pen. Okay, I have a pen here. Let's use this one here. So this one we'll use W and N, Winsor Newton, cadmium yellow. This is Holbein. Holbein is here too as well. I'll try not to lean my hand too much. Holbein. So I'm listing the brands now that are my colors. So this is Rose Madder is actually Winsor Newton. Cadmium red is Holbein. Cadmium orange, Holbein. Yellow ochre's Winsor Newton. Winsor Newton for this. Cerulean blue is Winsor Newton. Winsor Newton. Winsor Newton. Winsor Newton. Winsor Newton. Winsor Newton. So I'm just putting down the colors, and this is Winsor Newton as well. Viridian is Winsor Newton. Sap green, Winsor Newton. Burnt umber, Winsor Newton. Burnt sienna, Winsor Newton. Raw umber, Winsor Newton. Chromium oxide is, I think, Schmincke I use. Olive green is Winsor Newton. So these are the brands: Raw Sienna, Winsor Newton. Okay, so yeah, that's all the brands I use for each of these colors. And again, there's a lot of other great manufacturers that make great colors. I find these are really great. Myself personally, I find a lot of professional watercolor artists out there. I always see a lot of popularity with these brands, Winsor, Newton, and Holbein, are two really great paints. There's other great paints on the market too, obviously. But I find these are really just enjoyable for myself and what I really like. And this is just a great way to get your colors down with your brands. And then, you know, you might say, Chris's palette. $2020. And then I might put down here Schmincke paint box. And that's about it. So I hope you had fun painting along with me. I hope you'll make a paint chart of your favorite paints, of your favorite colors. Maybe you have a couple artists you follow again, if you want to make charts of their colors so you can kind of see what everyone's using that you like to follow. And then as well, you can have your own paint chart that you like to have as far as what your favorites are. And you can kind of combine them, look at them, and also too, you might have another one. Maybe the next time we'll create one with maybe just like fun exotic colors that we might use, that we might not use every day, but we occasionally might use them for different style paintings, like if we do a seascape or a landscape or something, or specific maybe streetscapes. It might be fun to add some, make some paint charts for those special colors that we might use that we don't always use every day, but we do kind of like to have a couple extra additional colors on the side that we might use for different applications. All right, so we'll hope that you'll subscribe, and if you like this video, I hope you'll give it a thumbs up and let me know, so I'll make more videos like this. And again, hope your painting is going great, and we'll see you on the very near future. All right, and we'll head out with just a quick watercolor in 5. That's my other watercolor channel. Or if this is watercolor in 5 right now you're watching, well then you know that my other YouTube channel is just simply my name, Chris Petri. And you can find that on YouTube as well. And that's my second watercolor channel, which is actually my main channel I've had for 5 years now. And this watercolor in 5 channel, this we have going about 6 months to 7 months or so with watercolor in 5. Okay, everyone, we'll see you on the next video. Bye-bye.